Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Mystery Unsolved. I am, of course, your host, Justin Bienvenu, and you may notice things look a little different. Uh, I have my phone turned sideways. Well, it's not sideways, but from side to side. And also, I'm trying not to look at the screen because I'm trying to look into the camera. So this is, again, I am not camera savvy. I am not tech savvy by any means here. So I am going to try to do my best to refrain from looking at the screen, but of course I'll also need to look at my trusty notes. But with all that mumbo jumbo out of the way, you'll also notice that behind me is my television. Now, I did have a nice um, setup for you for tonight's topic, but unfortunately it looked blurry. But now this doesn't look blurry, so I really have no idea what's going on here. But anyway, enjoy the background while I talk. Tonight's topic on Mystery Unsolved is, of course, the Vulture Mine. Now, again, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, what's a Vulture Mine? It doesn't sound haunted. Well, I got you there because it is haunted, and it is why we're talking about it tonight. So, continuing from the Western theme from last week, of course, from Tombstone, we're now traveling just a little bit further in the same city, of course, and we are, of course, now in Vulture Mine. So, without further ado, let me begin the video. Get my trusty notes out. Also, no one will appreciate this as much as I will. I printed out my notes because I haven't done that in ever. Since I started these videos, I wasn't able to print out my notes because I didn't have a computer. Hence, I couldn't use my printer. However, my printer is really wonky and yeah, prints really weird, but it's all good. I'm still using my printed notes, so we're just going to put those right there. All right, now let us begin. Vulture Mine. Little history about Vulture Mine. It is a former gold mine and settlement in I'm going to butcher this name, Maricopa County, Arizona. So yes, we are once again in Arizona. The mine began in 1863 and was one of the most productive gold mines in Arizona history. I would also like to add that I'm assuming it was also one of the most productive mines in United States history. I can't imagine. I mean, I'm sure California was too, but I got to give kudos to this place too. I'm sure it was one of the top five best mines in production in its day, in its heyday. In 79 years, it produced 340,000 ounces of gold and 260,000 ounces of silver. That's that's a lot of silver and gold. Silver and gold, indeed it is. The mine is credited for founding the town of Wickenburg, Arizona. So Wickenburg is actually the name of Henry Wickenburg, the proprietor of the town of, at the time, Vulture City. Hence the reason it was called the Vulture Mine, because the townspeople, but I'll get to that. The town that served the mine was known as Vulture City. So you kind of get an idea of why it was called Vulture Mine, because the town was called Vulture City. And the proprietor that founded the city, of course, is named Henry Wickenburg, and it was named after him. So full circle. The town shut down in, well, the mine, excuse me, the mine shut down in 1942 by regulatory agency for processing gold. Now, before I go any further, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, isn't that the whole purpose? Yes, but this was due to the fact that all resources at the time were focused on the war effort. So around that time, you couldn't produce gold. You couldn't produce gold, and they were doing that, and that was a big no-no. It was against regulations, so it was all for the war effort, and yeah, not a good look. The mine eventually reopened, but eventually a couple years later, it permanently closed. Today, today the mine and ghost town are privately owned, but tours are offered to take a look at the historical glimpse of the town. Um, for those who've heard of the mine, you probably have seen it on TV shows, documentaries, and it is quite interesting. It's a fun little ghost town. It's got a lot of cool places that you can visit, a lot of great so there is that. Uh, Daily tours are actually given, and they are $15 per person. Although I don't know if right now they're giving tours because of the whole coronavirus thing. So yeah, the mine was on lockdown. The mine was on a lockdown site for the TV show Ghost Hunters in 2010. Where haven't those guys been? I mean, really. The I didn't actually write this down, but Vulture Mine, I believe, was also investigated by um the guys from BuzzFeed Unsolved. I think that's the reason I actually know about it, and I'm talking about it tonight. So thank you guys. Now let's get to the good stuff, shall we? The reason you're here. You don't want to hear about a dumb mine. You want to hear about the Western ghost town? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. The reported hauntings. All right. I hate this setup. I really do. I'm not gonna lie. I hate this setup because I'm looking over here and you see me looking that way. So I'm doing my best to just try to read it and look at the camera. Again, I'm not a professional by any means. I say that every week. All right. Reported hauntings. Legend has it that 18 miners swung from Vulture Mine's hanging tree for stealing gold. So apparently, Vulture Mine is well known for their hanging tree. Apparently, this tree was done. It was called that because that's where they hung people or hanged people. Oh God, let's start that conversation. Um, for the sole purpose of not wanting to sound politically incorrect, let's go with hanged. Legend has it that 18 miners swung from Vulture Mine's hanging tree for stealing gold, so they got hanged. It says legend has it. So this is one of those stories that it's gruesome, but at the same time, you kind of ask yourself, you have to put legend in front of it because it just seems like a very, very big, tall tale. Many different creepy reports have surfaced of paranormal activity or odd feelings. So, from tours being given, from people just from TV shows going on there, just people on the premises get the odd feeling of something's just not right. Paranormal, supernatural activity, something's going on, and they don't know what it is. Some local historians remain, some local historians don't believe there's any paranormal activity and chalk it up to tall tales. Well, I mean, if you know you're a historian, you know you've probably seen things and done some stuff, and you just don't believe in the paranormal. You're not keeping an open mind. So to the historians of that, I say, like, come on. It's 2021, you know? During a tour, a recording in German was picked up. It is worth noting German was the native tongue of prospector Henry Wickenburg. So they were given a ghost tour, and one of the people decided to whip out the old camera or their cell phone to do a recording, and it picked up some voices in German. And it's widely believed that this voice that they picked up was in fact proprietor Henry Wickenburg, which is kind of interesting. I think that's definitely credible. I mean, how many people on the premises spoke German? And especially the guy who founded the whole freaking mine was German. So I believe that. And finally, last but not least, before I go over the big thing, this one's good. You're gonna appreciate this one. Cold spots were once felt even though it was 105 degrees out. Now imagine that. Imagine, first of all, why would you go on a ghost tour if it's 105 degrees? I wouldn't, but then again, I don't live in Arizona, so that's just me. But just imagine it's 105 degrees out, you're being given a ghost tour, and you start feeling a little cold. Obviously, something's not right here. Either you're coming down with something or someone is in there with you. Like, wow. So, yeah, that was pretty much my little, those are the reported hauntings. So, I'm actually going to go over the history. I'm also going to go over today. And I'm also going to go over the reported hauntings to give you my opinion and thoughts on it. So here we go, shall we? Former gold mine and settlement in Maricopa County, Arizona. Well, there's nothing to go over there. It just is what it is. The mine began in 1863 and was one of the most productive gold mines in Arizona history. I kind of I kind of told about this in the beginning. I also think, again, I'm pretty sure I heard this or read this somewhere, that the mine was also one of the most productive in United States history. I mean, it has to be. If Arizona was, then I imagine the United States must be. Like, I mean, people don't go around ranking their top 10 gold mines, but I'll put this one in the top five, at least for mine. Uh, in 79 years, it produced 340,000 ounces of gold and 260,000 ounces of silver. That that's a lot of gold and that's a lot of silver. So yeah, I'm not sure what that translates to in modern times, but probably a good amount. Probably looking pretty if you got that amount of gold today. Let's see. The mine, of course, is credited for founding the town of Wickenburg, Arizona, which, of course, we know is the Vulture mine was the proprietor of Henry Wickenburg, helped fund the town named Wickenburg, Arizona, after him. The shutdown in 1942 by regulatory agencies for processing gold was due to the fact that resources were focused on the war effort. So, if it were any other time, they wouldn't have shut them down because a gold mine is going to produce gold. But since this was the 40s, since this was gonna, I believe, around World War II, yeah, so they had to stop, and they didn't stop, and they're like, you can't do that. They shut the mine down. They did open back up, but then eventually, like 5, 6, 7 years later, the mine unfortunately permanently closed. But of course, we know its history would reopen it. Today, the mine is a ghost. Today, the mine and ghost town are privately owned, but tours are given so that people can take a historical glimpse of the town. Okay, I actually read that, but I didn't put the best part in. People don't go to Vulture. I mean, let's be honest. 40% of people probably go there for the historical glimpse, whereas the other 60% are probably like, yeah, dude, I'm coming here because I want to see ghosts. Show me the ghosts. Show me the hauntings. Show me the hanging tree. Let's say it is daily tours are $15 per person. Again, I don't know if they still currently do tours because of the pandemic, but I did read that. The Mine, of course, was a featured episode on Ghost Hunters in 2010 because what place haven't those guys covered? It was also on an episode of BuzzFeed Unsolved, hence the reason I'm doing an episode on it. And the reported hauntings, I'm going to get into all these, and I actually think there's credence to all of these. Legend has it that 18 miners swung from the Vulture Mine's hanging tree for stealing gold. So, obviously, back in the day, people were hanged, and I'm going to say hanged again, politically correct here. People were hanged for like everything. Like if you looked at a woman wrong on the street, you were hanged. You spit at somebody, you were hanged. If you looked at a guy wrong or drew your gun on him, you were hanged. But in this case, if you stole gold, yeah, your neck's going to get wrung pretty tight, I would imagine. Or, excuse me, I reckon. But notice at the beginning I said legend because this story is like, I guess because the hanging tree is so popular and well known, and because history has told this tale so many times that it's become a tall tale. So it's really hard to believe, and it's really hard to definitively say whether or not this even happened. I would say it did. I don't think 18. I don't think the number's 18. I think probably less. Probably even less than a dozen. Many different creepy reports have surfaced of paranormal. Sorry about that. Many different creepy reports have surfaced of paranormal activity and odd feelings. So, a lot of people have reported that while they're on the premises, they get this weird, eerie, creepy, odd feeling, like that they can't shake, like someone's watching them, somebody's walking next to them. Or they just get this overall dread. like, have you ever been in a place and you just kind of feel like something's not right? This is what people are reporting when they're at Vulture Mine. Paranormal activity, again, this could be also the reason, this could be what people see, hear, or even feel. Some local historians don't believe there's any paranormal activity and they chalk it up to tall tales. And for those people, I say, where is your imagination? Where is your belief? It's 2021, folks. Come on now. I mean, really. If it's not ghosts, then what is it? I mean, this is a mine we're talking about. People die in mines. People used to die in mines all the time. All the time. You mean to tell me you don't believe that there's still people thinking that, like, oh, I have to get the gold out of this mine? Sir, it's 2021. No, it's 1930. Like, no. But you know what? Yes, sir, it is 1930. You keep digging for gold. You keep digging that gold, sir. So yeah, for historians, I say, like, come on now, like, expand your horizons. Voices and I didn't even read this part last time. So yeah, lucky I went over this. Voices and spirit orbs have been reported. So that one I totally buy. Orbs are actually fun fact. Orbs are actually common occurrences in mines. So if you ever find yourself in a mine, you'll likely see some orbs. I've seen countless orbs in mines on TV shows, and also I've read that it's just one of those things that mines don't just they weren't just you didn't just dig for gold. Like, the orbs have now replaced the gold. That you'll definitely see something in there. Let's see. I love this part. Again, I went over this. Again, I'm just going over this. During a tour, and a recording in German was picked up, and it's worth noting that German was the native tongue of proprietor Henry Wickenburg. So somebody whipped out their phone and they recorded it, and they got some German voices, and it must have been the proprietor himself. And then last but certainly not least, cold spots were once felt even though it was 105 degrees out. Can you imagine that? Like, imagine just sweating your ass off and then all of a sudden you feel like a cold spot in the back of your neck. Like, you can't explain that. Like, you're not sick. Although, I mean, nowadays might be the coronavirus, but it's not. Like, just imagine, like, you're sweating, you're just like, you wipe a huge thing of sweat off your face, and then, like, in 5 seconds later, you're like, oh God, like, why am I so cold right now? Cold, cold. Like, what could explain that, historians? You know, that's paranormal activity right there. Well, this has been a trip to Vulture Mine. I hope you all enjoyed it. Um, Again, a little different from the like last week, a little different from the norm. This isn't an unsolved mystery, although it kind of is because if it's not paranormal activity, then exactly what the heck is it? um, so yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video on Vulture Mine, and stay tuned next week because, of course, there will be another video. And I am just going to get up for just one moment because I don't actually remember what the last topic is. So pardon me a moment. Oh, ah, ladies and gentlemen, I have going to be reaching the last on the list for Mystery Unsolved until I come up with more. So that means that next week we will do the third special episode, and it will be on the Zodiac Killer. Now, I happen to know somebody who is really into the Zodiac Killer. If I can get them to do a video with me, then it'll definitely be a special. So stay tuned for that, and I can't promise that I will have a guest next week, but it'll be a good thing if I did. So again, I hope you enjoyed this Mystery Unsolved video on Vulture Mind. Stay tuned next week for the Zodiac Killer. And for those that watch this on YouTube, I always like to say this, feel free to like the video and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next week, thank you for watching.